Hi, this is Scott Ware, the publisher and editor of Radiance Magazine, which can be found at radiancemm.com. I'm interviewing today someone who really pulled off something really incredible recently, Neil Gaur of Portal to Ascension, who just had a 5-day summit with some of the biggest luminaries in the business, in the field, I should say, because we're moving much more, I think, from business models to field models, maybe. Welcome, Neil. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Absolutely. Portal to Ascension now I know has been around for, what is it, almost a decade?
We started in 2006 is when the group was started. 2008 was when the group was changed to Portal to Ascension, and our first event was in 2009. So it's 11 years now.
Awesome. Okay. And, and I'm going to get into the beginnings of all that and why you did that. But I just want to point out this amazing thing you did, which was a 5-day summit, which was for free or by donation only, where you had people, I mean, everyone from the Wallaces on the Expansion Network, of course,
Yes.
to Lori Spagna, Mr. D'Souza. I mean, just all these luminaries that I was just curious. I mean, it was an incredible event. A lot happened. I wanted to know behind the scenes stuff from you, but also what you got out of it, because you've been immersed in this information for so long. And you wanted this to be an inclusive event with a lot of positivity and empowerment. Do you feel that you achieved that as well?
Yeah, I definitely feel like we achieved it. And you were there in the beginning for the intentions, right?
Yep.
So the intentions that we all set in the beginning literally manifested throughout the entire 5 days. And the intention was unity consciousness. It really exceeded my expectations. And, I knew it was going to be a great event. I wanted it to be very inclusive. I wanted to have people from all types of backgrounds, different belief systems, all coming under one. But so whatever I outlined really from the beginning is really how it manifested. And the fact that everybody just had everybody's conversation was based on the foundation of unity. That was what I kept saying throughout the entire 5 days, and it really seemed like that was exactly how it manifested.
And explain to people what is your idea of unity consciousness, and why is this something we should be striving for as a collective?
Well, right now, like as you and I both know and can probably tell, is that there's a lot of division in the world, right?
Yes.
And whether it's now we just have more of a way to express our division, or we are just becoming more divided as a culture. I'm not too sure which one it is, but something is definitely happening, and we can see that people are really going into belief systems based on their ideology, and keeping around them people that really validate their own belief systems. And then you can even go into social media and the algorithms and how they put you down rabbit holes in order for you to basically be lost into one train of thought that keeps validating that same thought over and over and over. And so the system is created in order to do that. Divide and conquer has been done technologically very well. So I've been noticing this, and I've always kind of seen, when you come from one extreme or another extreme, normally you're coming from an emotional trigger or a reaction, and therefore it might be based on some reality, but it's not really, you might not be expressing it correctly because of your trigger. So when you have the neutral stance, you see that there's truth in both sides, and that's what Portal to Ascension really represents, is looking at the similarities and the truths that we both share and what we can create together. So this event was just that, many of these speakers maybe have never even presented together before or wouldn't even want to, but everybody put that to the side in order to come together for one common cause. And I believe that common cause is our humanity,
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I first started encountering this tribe, this kind of community, this kind of conversation, I remember being surprised that in the same conversation we're talking about ETs and channeling and getting this information, this wisdom from extraterrestrials and all the other words we have for them. And I remember thinking, what does meditation have to do with disclosure? What the Pentagon is releasing with crazy amounts of footage of UFOs. What's that about it? And yeah, again, what does that have to do with my meditation? What does that have to do with being emotional, with being triggered or not?
Yeah. So when I first got into this too, I kind of found it very interesting that many people that are into spirituality and consciousness and meditation and yoga are into the extraterrestrial thing. And even when it comes to the nuts and bolts component, which of just the UFO disclosure, the government cover-ups, whistleblower testimony, even within there's this aura of consciousness and spirituality. So it was the people that aren't into the consciousness or aren't aware of it that are into UFOs are very, very few. If, I would be surprised if someone wasn't aware that there was a consciousness UFO community, even if they were into UFOs just by itself, right? So when then doing my research, basically when I first woke up to all this content, the first thing I was looking for was the root of all religion. And the way I explain that is I just saw so many similarities in religions. I was reading like the Quran, Bible, Bhagavad Gita, I was drawing parallels between all these texts. And I realized there's so many similarities within all of these texts, but we're all focused and talking about what divides us, right? So what I basically created from that point onwards by looking at the root of all religion is a platform where we explore our common similarities, and we basically bridge gaps between communities in order for us to move together as a society.
Yeah, and there's no need anymore to prove that ETs exist, are here to help for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just a matter of, if you're ready, the information's here.
Yeah.
And here and just in so many places.
So to answer your question, because actually I lost my train of thought, but I remember it now. So the reason why meditation and extraterrestrials were connected was because as I was exploring the root of all religion, I stumbled across the Sumerian tablets of creation, in which many of the world's religions actually take text from. And in like even the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Bhagavad Gita, Greek mythology, Mayan mythology, very similar, or if not the same exact stories. But these beings that they were talking about, instead of prophets and angels, they were talking about them being extraterrestrial aliens from different planets, right? And in that same text, it talks about meditation technique, frequency technique, this the representation of a snake represented advanced quantum physics science within those texts. So they were talking about vibration. So this led me into exploring Hinduism and Greek mythology, and especially Hinduism, because I was raised in Hinduism, and realizing that there's a lot of connections to meditation and yoga into these ancient texts that talk about these star beings. And then that resulted in my realization that it's a frequency game. So the question, the answer to your question is, the reason why meditation and extraterrestrials are really much connected is because the extraterrestrials, or interdimensionals, ultra-terrestrials, there's different types, they are, it's a frequency game. They're shifted out of our reality. You and I, we're not solid matter. We're vibrating matter, but we're vibrating frequencies, constantly vibrating in and out of perceived reality. So why do I see you as physical? Therein lies the illusion. So that's the same exact thing when it comes to these beings. They are at different frequencies. I'm sure there is a way in the science in order to quantify what those frequencies are and how to match them, but I don't feel like it's been disclosed or maybe available to the public yet. So what happens when you meditate is you are able to shift your own frequency in order to match the vibration of another entity, being, extraterrestrial, and have some sort of communication. So that's really the reason why meditation and that's connected. And a lot of other people that, meditate, they talk about connected to angels, connected to God, source. There's no real difference here. It's just frequencies. All of these things represent a different vibration.
That's very interesting. So you mentioned frequency, which means, and some people that just, it doesn't make logical sense, but that's the whole point, because when we go into our heart, which is really the source of just a lot of communication, of connecting to source rather than through our brain, that's where frequency makes more sense, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we live in a time really of just so much information out there, so many people with podcasts. In fact, when I was looking over the guest list, everyone from Jill Eisenhower, you had a lot of people there who are doing their own podcasts, and there's so much information out there. It would be, even if the government wanted to shut it down, there wouldn't be any way, right? There's just so many outlets, and yet your Facebook page came down, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Which was kind of weird. It happened on day 2. Right after I just had a conversation with Billy Carson about detoxing and disconnecting from social media. Yeah. So, and I don't know the real reason why it happened, but I do know that they said I can never request a review and go back and have another account. And they did say I severely violated the policies. So, but they won't even give me a reason why.
And Facebook is a so-called private company, and yet, yeah, they have their own thing going on as far as determining
Yeah.
what's up, what's down. But overall, I see that there's just so many outlets, so many ways to get the information out there. And you had quite a few people participating in this summit, isn't that right?
Yeah, there was I didn't count the exact number because we added a few people, but I think there was probably around 58 to 60 people altogether involved in it.
Exactly. And I was honored to be one of the interviewers, Lori Spagna and Bradley and Casey Wallace.
Hmm.
How many people actually signed up to watch, and did you see that were participating?
Yeah, we had 8,500 people sign up.
That's
Yeah,
great.
which is pretty cool. And I procrastinated, so a little behind the scenes on it, right?
Yeah.
I did procrastinate because I put the whole thing basically together myself, and it's as intense as the live production, especially if you're doing it yourself. Because don't forget, like there's actually there was 58 speakers, but then there was 14 MCs, and then there was another 5 admins. So that's around 75 to 80 people involved in this that I need to make sure that everybody comes in and out at the right exact times. So just the amount of follow-up emails, and then to balance not harassing speakers that are already busy with other projects, but to also inform them enough to make sure that they come in time for this event. You know what I mean? So I really had to do that as well. And just having all these people be a part of it, they all brought their own energy, their own component. And as you said, many of these individuals are actually doing things on the same level as me, on different levels,
Yeah.
completely independent of Portal to Ascension. So it gave me the opportunity to bring all these people that are doing independent stuff and create a collaboratory event, because that's what I do for most of my live events that have multiple people. Is I really try to figure out who I can bring on board in order to make it a collaboratory event, and then also make it mutually beneficial. So the hosts, like you have Radiance, you are the director and of Radiance Magazine, and then we have um, all these other hosts from different podcasts that were there as well. Some of them were people that were influencers on Instagram, you know what I mean, and YouTube people. So I just had all types of people represented in order for us to have a broader reach for this event.
Well, and I mean, and you did it for free. You offered it for free, and people could donate if they want, and as did all these other people. And a lot of these people have Patreon accounts, as does Portal to Ascension.
Yeah.
Where can people donate to you, whether it's $10 or $20 a month? Where can they do that?
Yeah, well, you can go to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/portal to ascension, all spelled out, and sign up there. There's different levels. So depending on what you want to contribute towards, you can sign up. And then everybody who does sign up for our Patreon, not only are you continually supporting us in our overall activities, supporting the speakers that we work with because we pay them, you're also helping us create more free events. Because my goal has always been, like, been saying for many years, I used to say that, I wish that, I could just get paid full-time salary just to do these events for free. You know what I mean? Just so that I wouldn't have to worry about like creating these events and being able to sustain myself full-time so I can do this as a full-time job, and really bring the high level content that we bring to people and create the robust system. Like if I was working somewhere else, that wouldn't have happened,
Exactly. You have the freedom to do it the way you want to. In fact, and I know it's not just the way you want to, because I know you're not an ego-centered individual. You are tapped in, tuned in, turned on, as they say, to source. So this is really your calling, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely. I've tried going back to a corporate world multiple times, in the last 10 years. But around I would say 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it was the last time that I decided not to do that again. And then I've just been, 100% ever since. And then for about, 4 or 5 years, it's basically been sustaining us enough that we can create all these content. We have around 100 events a year. We have a good amount of live events. We're now creating international tours. So our first tour was supposed to be this year in November, but to the Yucatan, but we're changing it because of COVID to next year. So, this is really we're able to grow right now and be a full-on conscious event production company where we can offer support to all these speakers and presenters that maybe don't have the know-how or the skills or the team or the reach, right? Any of those, And we've even started taking on other people now that are basically doing moving their live conferences online, and we're running all of their their tech, the emails, their website, all that stuff too. So we've really been growing. But this Portal to Ascension event that we just experienced was our signature event, and it was, like, as I was saying before, it was intense to put on. I feel so much relief right now.
Yeah.
There's like a level of anxiety that is completely left, and I'm really like slowing down on things, not committing to things, stopping some stuff right now. I feel like I need to take some time for myself for the rest of the year, because this event did very well and it had the impact, and we're going to keep circulating the content. Like right now we're in editing mode. So in about like a week, we're going to start launching different content every week on multiple platforms, including Xpnsion network, and just keep making this content going out there until the end of the year in order to keep that positive vibe going and to offer empowerment in these challenging times.
Thank you for doing that. That is so awesome. I want to ask, when you named it Portal to Ascension some years ago, I imagine that had a meaning that it doesn't have now, or I bet it's got an expanded meaning. What do those words mean to you now as opposed to 10 years ago?
Yeah. So 10 years ago, I was very much into Ascension information in regards to, like, I wasn't really into the UFO disclosure nuts and bolts as much, for example. I was into the extraterrestrial races and channeling of those beings, and, I was into the spiritual component of ETs, not into, the government, the whistleblower stuff. I was into Reiki and energy healing, all that stuff. I'm still into all of that, but that was pretty much mostly my world. I would be at events with Kundalini, Kundalini yogis. I would do oneness blessings. I was a oneness blesser. So I was very much focusing more on the spirituality. So when this name came about, it started in 2006 as Cosmic Consciousness, Mind, Evolution, and Presence. Actually, 2012 Consciousness, Mind, Evolution, and Presence. And then it changed to Cosmic Consciousness, Mind, Evolution, and Presence. And then it changed to Cosmic Consciousness, right, in like 2007. And then in 2008, finally, it became Portal to Ascension. So it was really focusing on the consciousness of the universe. I was into ancient history a lot too, but I was really into the spiritual component. Like, there's a physical component that Atlantis existed, and we can do archaeological finds and know that this place was a reality and find ruins. But then there's a spiritual component to why did they live there? What did they know? What ET beings were they communicating with? Were they able to use their consciousness to reach other stuff? I was into that, right? So as 10 years progressed and I started doing work with all these speakers, worked with hundreds of speakers at this point, learning much more than I'd known back then, my understanding of Ascension completely changed, and I've had some kickback. Yeah, so my current understanding of Ascension is that all things lead to this ascension. So whether you're talking about ancient civilizations, you're exposing government truths and secrets and hidden secrets, you're exposing maybe some uncomfortable truths, right? And you're talking about our ancient history in a true conventional timeline from a linear standpoint. You're discussing spirituality, sound healing. All of these components are truly part of the Ascension and all the information we offer. So if you go to our website and sign up at portaltoascension.org, get free access, have access to the 2,000 plus hours of free content we have, you'll realize that the amount of topics that we covered are so vast, and it's because all of those topics can lead to an ultimate ascension. And then just to add to that, Ascension back 10 years ago, for myself and for a lot of people, was a destination. Some people, Ascension, it was 2012 was that destination, right? They thought December 21st was that ascension point. And, I had that belief as well, that something was going to happen. And then after that, when, nothing huge happened to the level, things did happen, and that you can say that, something definitely happened on that date that's probably ascension oriented. But in regards to like a complete reality shift and we're in fifth dimension with dolphins flying, that didn't happen, aliens coming down and on a mass landing. Right. So after that, many people that I know, many friends, many speakers, and myself like I literally was not planning any events after December 21st, 2012, because I was waiting to see what would happen. Right.
Right.
So many people did. So then after that day, um, a lot of people started being more in the moment and being present. And as that expanded my awareness to the realization that ascension is a paradox, because really when it comes to be ascension, the only way you'll ever go to an ascended reality is if you live in the moment, if you're present right now.
That's right.
So that's what
With no agenda.
yeah, exactly. So I do have kickback from people very rarely, but maybe 3 or 4 times a year, emailing me very upset about the word ascension or not wanting to be part of an event. You know, out of the 10,000, 20,000 plus people at events a year, it's, you know, very few, but it's because a lot of people have this belief around ascension and they don't realize other people have different beliefs, you know. So some people think what I believe, like, why are we trying to escape? Why are we trying to go somewhere? We got to try to enjoy this moment. But when some people hear the word ascension, they automatically think you don't believe that. You know what I mean?
I agree. I do. In fact, a lot of people, and myself included, I thought, yeah, I would ascend to somewhere, which in a sense would separate me from, I felt, people that weren't in alignment with me.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, it actually sort of turns you, it spins you around with more love for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
the paradox I think you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I love the term portal to ascension. I feel like it's like such a great name, and it is. That's what we are, and that's what that event was. And I had the amount of feedback and testimonials I got for this event are just like amazing. I was like teary eyed, like reading them, you know. And then some people, like one person was like, "Whoa, this event was a portal to ascension." You know, like 5-day liftoff into that their awareness, and people are vibing off it even still to till today.
Excellent, excellent.
Mm-hmm.
You feel there are two camps in of people, maybe even a third one in between. It's a combination, but one where, man, we've been listening to. Okay, first the disclosure of people as far as we got to get the truth out. We want to know what the government knows. There's these flying saucers we capture. What did the aliens they captured tell them, or what did they get from them? Then you have this other camp of people who've been listening to Bashar and Seth for
Yeah.
30, 40 years and have been getting having contact with aliens in the form of these collectives that are being channeled, or whether it's Archangel Michael being channeled, Jesus, Mary
Mm-hmm.
Magdalene. You have those people who've been getting the information. And then I suppose there's an in-between group who are about both.
Yes.
Does Portal to Ascension attract both groups? Or is there a third group in between?
Yeah, we attract both groups for sure because we work with all the people um, on different sides. You know, people that are just exclusively nuts and bolts to people that are all into the spiritual component. A lot of people that are into the spiritual component are really open to the nuts and bolts too nowadays. So it's almost like entirely merged. There was like a day where there was just like Bashar people that were just into Bashar, you know, but even Bashar now has done workshops on disclosure and government stuff, and people ask those kind of questions at these channeling events. When it comes to channeling Jesus, Mary Magdalene, I don't see the UFO community crossing over into that, but they do cross over into the channeling stuff. But a lot of them may have had that as a foundation before they found UFOs, nuts and bolts stuff, or they pick and choose a few channelers because they don't trust all of them, you know?
Sure.
And I'll give you a good example and of why they don't trust, right? Because the amount of people, for example, I know, right, that connect to their guides and angels and have had the message that Trump is good, both Trump is bad. Which one's reality? Whose guides are true? You know what I mean? So it's just like if you're coming up with a solution for like based on your own belief system is I feel is happening a lot of times and it gets in the way of that. So people in these communities see that and there's a huge split in the answers, right, from these people that are channeling. So they don't really gravitate towards that. So they're looking for more verifiable evidence because they want to also take it out to the linear-minded people that don't know about this stuff. They want to teach it to them. So coming across with, you know, I'm connecting my guides, this is what my guides tells me, isn't something really that they can put in their book in order to provide evidence to others to realize that this is a reality.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. So you have a lot of people who also, and myself, I was challenged along the way when I found that certain people in the spiritual community were saying things that at the time I didn't agree with. Maybe later I did come to agree. Maybe later I went the other way, you know, but then I realized that was, like you say, linear thinking on the 3D world. But let's meet in the 5D world where it's all about love and unity consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really what I'm attempting to do, is bring lot not logic. It's hard to explain.
Spiritual logic, I accept
Yeah,
that
yeah.
phrase. Yeah.
Bring credibility to the spirituality. That's what it is. And my the best way to do that for me is ancient civilizations and their knowledge of spirituality and and dimensions and stuff, and sound and frequency, vibration, the awareness of that. Because when you start talking about energy healing and Reiki, and like, let's, if we list off a bunch of things that some people consider woo woo, and
Yes.
then you start talking about frequency and how your body's emanating certain frequencies of vibrations,
Right.
and what occurs in those moments with your intention, and then even show case studies and science that backs that, right? Then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, like I was having a knee-jerk reaction and I just was judging it based on my ideology, but it makes sense now,
I agree. I like that.
Mhm.
Are you or I mean, we look up to these aliens, these ETs, these extra,
Yeah.
multidimensional beings. Are you or I any lesser than a Pleiadian or an Arcturian?
No, and a great way of explaining it is my friend Brad Johnson. He channeled a being called Adronis. It was a being from Sirius, is a being from Sirius. And when we first started doing events, we did like 100-something events with him. We went up and down the coast, sound healing and ETs. And this is one of the channeled responses. Was the only difference between and a higher dimensional being, ET, ultra dimensional, whatever, and human, is that if you're in, like, say you're in a valley, right, and there's two like mountains here and you're in a valley, right,
Yep.
the human is standing in the valley looking around, and the ET is on top of the valley looking down and looking around. It's just the perspective is different, and we have the ability in these bodies. You can go, you can go into the awareness of the 12-strand DNA and how our junk DNA is dormant, and how each chakra in our body actually represents a portal to a different dimension. And there's 7 chakras in our body, the main ones, and then one right above us we have direct connection to, and those chakras connect us to 8 dimensions of awareness. So the
Mhm.
human body has been created in order to be able to exist multidimensionally, but we're in this limited broadband frequency range, right, that we're unable to break free from without intentionally attempting to do so, right? So
Right.
which is why now we get into government conspiracies and like fluoride and all these things, which is why all of this stuff exists around us, and EMFs and everything, in order to create an aura of a reality that inhibits that ability to reach those frequencies. So you have to really be intentional and do it consciously in order to be able to shift your frequency to maybe even channel some of these beings and communicate with them.
Shifting frequencies is key, isn't it? I mean, that would be a good class for anyone to take
Oh yeah, yeah.
for many reasons.
Right. When, one day, maybe, hopefully, we can actually put some of these classes and courses really in school, because it would actually assist us in understanding our place in the universe and cosmos, because we don't remember where we come from. If you believe in past lives, even if you aren't in the conscious community, but you have a belief system that believes in past lives,
Yep.
you must at least realize the fact that when you come to this world, you don't remember your past lives consciously, right?
Right.
So shifting our frequencies allows us to tap into who we really are and the depth of our souls and our soul's experience, right?
Yeah. And isn't it really about getting rid of a lot of the programming that we've gotten since we were small so that
Mhm.
we can realize our most authentic self?
Yeah, deprogramming and then reprogramming yourself for empowerment really is what it's all about.
Yes.
Hmm.
Well said. Um, I want to ask you a personal question, okay?
Yeah.
I know your game. So, in your experience with ETs, what have your experiences been in person,
Yeah.
also in meditation, and also in, say, an interview, and also when you channel? Because I bet you do.
All right. Well, okay. So with meditation, meditation for me is more stillness, and I've been on plant medicines where I've had a voice speaking to me, right? And whether that's an ET or not, I don't know.
Mhm.
But in meditation, I've been doing a lot of Vipassana meditation, right? And going to the 10-day silent meditation retreat. And so that's kind of become my programming now in order to not attach myself to a sensation when it comes to me as a polarity, right? So, but from that neutral state, it is can be argued that that neutral state is where you have that contact most often, you know, and most channelers will probably tell you that they need to get to that neutral non-reactory state in order to even have a communication where their ego doesn't even get involved in it, you
Mm.
know. So that's kind of my meditation. I am completely open to those experiences. And then I've had dreams, you know, that on being on different planets, having being on Mars, being on Maldek, which is the asteroid belt right now, and also being in stasis in a different planetary system. So, and even existing on Saturn, like being on Saturn, astral traveling to Saturn. So these have all happened randomly. There's no consistency to this experience.
Sure.
But for sightings, there has been a couple of ones that I remember. I probably had like 3 or 4 in my life, I would say, but a couple I remember. Once I was at Pirates Cove in not Dana Point, in Corona del Mar, right?
Right.
And I kid you not, there was like a thing right in the sky, and it was like a light ship, and then all of a sudden, what looked like a wormhole came through it, like a spiral, and it got sucked right into it. And that
Right.
was like definitely had to be something like out of this world. And
Right.
then another time I was in San Diego driving, and I saw something in the sky, and this blue thing started coming out of it, and half of the night sky got covered in blue. So those are my two distinct sightings that made me, you know, I was like, whoa, that's a reality.
When you listen to someone like Bashar, or there was someone in your program also who was channeling ETs.
Julius, right?
Well, Julius for sure. There was a woman also who was an ET channeler. I can look it up. And but I mean, for me, I get amazing wisdom. I mean, and Julius will say something occasionally. It'll just hit me
Yeah.
between the eyes and just be amazing. And Bashar, of course, as well, and others. I mean, basically, we're getting supported by
Hmm.
all these intelligences, all these beings. If they wanted to take us over, they would have. It's an interesting thing when
Yeah.
people come to that realization, but it takes that progression of moving from one place to another, so that by the time you are actually considering those things, they're non-issues,
Hmm.
because you're coming at it with love, and you realize it's not all the conflict that the Hollywood movies would have you believe it would be.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, another part of our event and intention is to really to focus on the fact that they these beings and these crafts do not have to be a threat. And if you look at government whistleblower testimony, and if you look at what Tom DeLonge just did, the Blink 182 singer that has To the Stars Academy, in which he has NSA, CIA, other DoD officials with him right now, and they have they basically admitted that the government had a UFO program, the Pentagon program. And
Right.
if you look at the documentation, the reason why they had this program is because they said it was a threat, unidentified aerial threat, and they have now changed it from UFO because I believe the stigma, the negative stigma around the word UFO, that in which they actually created, the CIA actually created,
Yes.
to UAP, which is unidentified aerial phenomena. So what they've been doing is focusing on the fact that we need to release documents and information that these beings exist, which they have been doing, and circulating one of the same videos over and over and over again, but calling it an unidentified aerial threat. And the reason why they're calling it a threat, when anybody asks them, you know, they've been on Tucker Carlson many times because Tucker loves UFO stuff, and
Yep.
all types of other people. When anybody asks them, um, you know, what they know about this, they pretty much say nothing. So they need to, by default, say that it's a threat. So you're not saying it's a threat based on any evidence and realization, but you're admitting that their technology is unprecedented. And even though people, media hosts keep saying, why are you looking at it? No, the media hosts keep saying, could it be another government craft? And every time
Right.
that question is asked to any of these officials, they keep skirting around it because they can't really say that's a reality. And they say, oh, no, not that we know of, because they say they have no evidence to suggest that it could be any other government on Earth. But they don't
Right.
want to give you the direct information about what they're thinking it is. They want you to speculate on that. So if they have that technology and they're able to like surpass anything we did ever think of,
Yeah.
then yes, if they wanted to be a threat to us, they could have probably threatened us a long time ago. And it's already known even by the government that these crafts have been visiting us probably forever. They've even said that. Like Luis Elizondo, for example, the guy that was the head of the ATIP UFO program for the Pentagon, said that he thinks that they've been visiting forever. You know,
Yes, I mean,
so
why just during this time? Of course, and
right.
for those of us who have listened to these channelings, whether it's Michaela Sheldon and just all these people who bring forth this beautiful information, it's it it's amazing because it goes beyond just like seeing a therapist or giving yourself some therapy.
Mm.
It goes into all these dimensions of self-love.
Yes.
Because you talk about shadow work, you talk about going back and healing your inner child, and it's like, what some people might say, what does it have to do with ETs? And it's like,
Yeah.
they're
Everything.
they're here to help, and their caring, loving message cannot be misunderstood.
Yes.
It's just it hits that right note, and is so helpful, and
Yeah.
people have evolved and are better suited to be able to open themselves up to communication with them.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, they have transcended a lot of these triggers that we have
Hmm.
as a society that will make us either be act in fear or react to them.
Yeah.
So the reason why meditation, again, this is another reason for meditation besides the frequency game. The
Yep.
reason why meditation, self-work, reflection, self-empowerment can all lead to open ET contact is because without having dealt with our insecurities, our mommy daddy issues, our trauma from birth, from all these traumas, and I can go on and on to like
Yep.
there's dark ones, all types of ones. If we react and respond to their existence from a place of trauma because of that, then we cannot have an open, friendly, transparent, um, you know, interaction, a relationship with them. And an example of that is just look at the way the world works right now. We have all the tools, we have the know-how, we have the technology, we have the ability to create the most utopian, amazing place on earth, including in that educational systems that allow us to deal with our emotional traumas so that we can be the people that deserve this planet, right?
Yep.
We have that opportunity to do it, but we don't. So why would they just come down when they know that we can do it, but we don't? We're too collectively arrogant enough to face our collective shadow, you know? So that's why when you go to all these channeling events, you're like talking to ET, and the whole entire conversation is about how you can live your passion
Yeah.
and shift your frequency and be in your truth, and heal your past traumas, past life and current life.
Exactly. And that's what it is for me, and my empowerment and my ability to achieve more things, and for people, I can't speak for everyone in the world, I can speak for myself, but I know anytime that I've come up against something very difficult, very just pushing against me, or I'm pushing against it, and then when I conquer it, when I succeed with it, which you could say conquer, but embraced it, let it pass so that it wasn't an issue anymore, I've never felt better. And those are amazing times. But I didn't feel that way before. I was just feeling the pain and the agony and the suffering until I got past it. So I can see by design, personally, why that sort of thing exists. I can't speak for all suffering for all people, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, that's part of going through a portal, right? You don't just slide through a portal with ease. There's steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
levels.
yeah, exactly. And it is basically, yeah, as we know that all these things manifest in our life in order to give us lessons and if we don't confront those in those moments, they're just going to circle back again. and they could just get bigger and bigger and bigger until we're ready to face it. And then some people, they never face that lesson, and they're up until their deathbed are experiencing that thing coming back over and over. And maybe a good example would be relationships, having the same toxic relationship over and over until the end,
Yep.
because you never confronted the lesson that this person was giving you. And maybe you kept saying, okay, I don't want to deal with her at all, this person at all, I'm just going to move on, and not even confronting it, so it'll come manifest over and over again. So that's what Earth really seems like it is to me. And I feel we're in a time right now where we are like dealing with a lot of stuff that we basically have suppressed in our subconscious mind and our soul, and a lot of these experiences are coming up, and which is why we have the most stimuli we've ever had on this planet. We have the most so change that reality to, we have the most opportunities to transcend these triggers and emotions. Right?
Exactly.
There's like
That's
so
what it
much going on I mean, some back in the day, some people didn't leave like more than a mile away from their home for almost the entire life.
Yeah.
Right? Humans have been on the planet conventionally for 200,000 years. Most people that I know believe way longer than that. And only for like 100 years have we had the ability to go more than a couple of miles away from our home, right?
Exactly. So,
It
okay,
blows my mind.
you bring up an interesting point. There's been times where we've made some serious jumps. Okay, now
Yeah.
science needs empirical truth or objective reasoning to call it proof before it will, change its beliefs. So, but the intelligence out there that's helping us, if you believe that, I tend to know that. I do know that. They've dropped a bit into the field, haven't they? Whether it's technology or wisdom that has really allowed us to jump. Isn't that right?
Oh yeah, you're saying like
Microwaves.
maybe we've been some assistance, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and and even though we can just say that right here and just throw it out there, there is a lot of evidence to suggest that's true as well. So, that even when it comes to Germany and some documents from Germany and the reality that they may have actually had communication with extraterrestrials and given some technology in order to advance their spacecraft. And the Nazi Bell, which was a UFO prototype, was one of those things. So yeah, I think on one level that we've maybe had some direct interference that has given us assistance with technology, maybe government connections. There's information about how President Eisenhower connected with a group of great aliens, and there's even a picture that some people say may or may not be true. But then also the consciousness field, the energy field, there are thoughts and notions that are almost planted in the field that we're all connected to, and then they come down and multiple people pick up on it at the same time. A good example is like I forget who it is. I think it's Buddha, Confucius, or there's like, if you look back at history, there was like a period of time where all these amazing people that changed the reality and created different religions on Earth basically existed at the exact same time. There's a time of
Right.
Buddha. So it's just like the likeliness and the chance for that happening is very rare. So there could be a possibility that there was like an energy or a vibration in the air, so to speak, that multiple people pick up on,
Yep.
and they take that and create technology. And another good example would be Tesla, because he even said that that's what happened, that he picked up on those frequencies and energy, and he was basically commissioned in order to bring that out to the world.
Now you just brought something very interesting up. I met Stephen Ross recently, who's been interviewed by Regina Meredith on Gaia, and he is a librarian, to put it humbly, because he, in his house in Sedona that I got to visit, he has a library in there with a lot of original works, including by Manly P. Hall. And there's Tesla and there's other people in that library. And one of the things that he is holding there, he's holding space essentially for those people and what they did, because I just saw the movie Thrive 2. And in it, the people in there who did Thrive 1, they're still going all over the earth to find people who are coming up with free energy devices and that sort of thing, right? And they found one in Zimbabwe, of all places, and it's very interesting. But the fact is, what we're coming to know is that these things and devices, or even ideas and concepts, have already been created in different times. And what that says, and what he has put forth, is that information, that frequency of knowledge, is available to anyone at any time just tap in.
Yeah.
So something that these inventors that they created in the fifth, even like, well, 1700s perhaps, and later, particularly, we're recreating them now. It's not new, but it's also a new permission slip these days to know that you can do anything. You can tap into it.
Yeah, exactly. And we have the information and the techniques in order to do so, and even technology that can assist us in doing it. So I feel that we can eventually get into a reality, a world where we can actually start utilizing these and it being taught to us, you know, because once we start
Yeah.
to do this more intentionally, we can really change this world and all live in peace and harmony.
Well, that's the thing. It's almost like crowdsourcing is happening sort of by itself. There are companies that have crowdsourced things like here, design the IT on this, but in this case, it seems to be happening on its own, which is why it can't be stamped out. There's so much awakening happening, and so many of these things are popping up everywhere. You have created something that is bringing a lot of people together. You've connected with Unify and other groups, Awake TV, Portal, your Portal to Ascension, Expansion Network. So what do you see? What do you see as happening, and what do you see as maybe coming around the corner in the next couple of years?
Yeah.
As far as all this information being available, is it its own internet web, or is it? How would you describe that?
Well, information has now been decentralized. You know, it's not coming from. Not even too long ago, there wasn't even a version of the Bible in English. You know, like it was just given to you from who wants to give it to you. And many countries are still like that. Like we are not really, some stuff we haven't progressed at all. It's really interesting to observe the contrast. So I feel what has happened now is information has been decentralized, but now censorship has been picked up a huge notch. I didn't think we'd ever get to this point. When it gets to the big tech giants, let's say Facebook, Google, Twitter, they have more influence than multiple world governments combined.
Yes.
You can't be a private organization if you have more influence than world governments. It doesn't make sense. Like we need to figure out some sort of regulation, maybe tone them down, their influence a little bit, or they have to become a public commodity. I don't know what they have to become, but I'm just saying that something needs to be addressed in the fact that they can basically sway public belief worldwide, and they can create mass. You want to say something on this? A mass amount of censorship. Yeah.
I'm just going to say, if you are a company and you can turn your company name into a verb that everyone uses, like Google, you're onto something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So information has been decentralized, but censorship has really kicked up. And I don't know if we're going to go all the way down a censorship world and a reality where almost all the privacies are taken away, which is really the direction they've headed before the Patriot Act. But the Patriot Act was really like the next stepping stone from that, making people believe they need to give up their privacy. And then those laws and those regulations that started with the Patriot Act and that were founded a little earlier than that really did not carried over to when we started getting devices and smartphones and everything became device oriented and all that information was stored everywhere. No regulation was carried over into the technology companies that started coming after the Patriot Act. So the lack of privacy carried over into all this technology that now had all of our data, right? So I feel we're in a free enough society that if they take it too far, people are going to eventually be like, what the heck? And it's not going to happen, because the only way to take it to the level they want to is complete control. And
I think we're there. I mean, I don't know as far as China. I mean, they have put some incredible controls on their people there, but I think that's going to bust out too. But
yeah,
I think just as everything is moving to where, there's less privacy in a sense, but then it's exploding in the other direction as well of everybody having access to everything.
Right, exactly. So there's even a legislation out right now where you can pay a nominal fee. This may or may not pass in order to not allow technology companies to use your private data. So you pay a fee so that they won't use it, and then you won't get like suggested recommendations. So then they will take away more from you than you need to take away from you to make your life uncomfortable, in which you won't see people that you want to see. You won't get the suggestions on certain things that you need. You'll be just like, like you're on a new computer every single time, you know?
Then just as that happens, there's probably gonna be new technology, new internets,
Yeah.
new places for people to move to.
Yes. So let's go to the solutions.
Sure.
So what's happening is people are creating their own platforms. I've completely coded my own. You can go onto it. It's like a video archive by thumbnail, description, speaker, all the stuff, and it's completely separate from any other platform, so that I don't have that censorship issue,
Yes.
or I get demonetized or something like that. And then many other organizations, like just people that I work with alone, I work with, or I know around 3 other people have actually created their own video sites like mine based on their content, and all 3 of them are actually really big people in the community. Like they're 3 of the biggest platforms, you know. So that's what's happening. I feel that we're not going to get to a full censorship world, that there's going to be backlash. It's going to come down somehow, and it might not be pretty in the fact that we might not have access to the social interaction that we currently do. It might be toned down a little bit. And then hopefully in this new reality, we can start imposing regulations on these companies so that they can't use our data and basically use us like a commodity.
Agree. Is it possible, though, because of the importance that oral tradition has had in humanity's expansion, isn't it possible that we could just be going in the other direction where, okay, let's say the internet gets shut off one day.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably at that point, or whenever, we've already figured out how to be healers for each other, how to be artists and expressing things. Maybe that's the direction we need to, because actually the real information that's being transferred with great profoundness is not verbal, is not something you can read, not something you can even hear, perhaps someone saying something to you, but it's your experience of it going to these other dimensions, right?
Yeah, exactly. And going to these other dimensions, and then also experiencing this dimension away from an online reality, because the world, like you and I right now, are actually communicating through a dimension.
Yes.
You know,
Sure.
because like, how am I just showing up on your screen like that? There's an unseen, undisturbed reality in which a frequency is traveling through, and like just like that, in order to manifest. Computers are dimensions. Our phones are literally realities and dimensions that we've created. We've disconnected from the dimension that we're on. So the best way to connect to other dimensions and multiple organic, let's say organic dimensions, you know, are really through disconnecting from this as much and going back to that. And this is coming from someone whose world is, you know, online. I do online, all my events, most of my events are online. But I'm realizing now that just being connected into this endorphin rush, like game where, you know, social media to me has just become a lot of stories and a lot of dramas and a lot of triggers and a lot of division right now. There are, and I used to joke around and say, when people used to say about how they didn't like the social media page for years, I would say they'd be like, I wish there was a conscious social media. And I'm like, my Facebook feed is a conscious Facebook feed. Like, it was just nonstop beauty and positivity.
Yep.
And now it's like, no matter what side you're on, it's both negative, and there's a few occasional positive posts. And these are the same people. It's just, and I have 5,000 friends the whole time, so it's a pretty big snapshot of the world, of a good amount of people all over the world, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know where I'm getting with this, but it's just, I do know now is it's very important to connect to Earth and each other, and especially because of this whole social distancing thing that is more physical distancing, but we're basically are socially distancing because we're not interacting with each other. California is known as a place where people all say hi to you when they pass you on the streets. And now, like, you trying to go around the tree so you don't interact with them because you might not be wearing your mask while you're walking and the other person is, and you want to be respectful to them. So there's very little interaction going on.
Oh, and basically sneezing's been outlawed. I mean, you get looks from people.
Yeah. Like, and whenever you, like, I don't know, in the last 6 months, have you had a sore throat or anything and be like, holy shit, I got the COVID?
Yep.
We need to have a support group for that.
I know. And yeah. So the thing is, so you've got the pandemic. I mean, it's really been great for the ascension process, hasn't it?
Well, the information has come out on a hardcore level. Many people have established themselves even more and putting out a lot of content. Um, a lot of these speakers, they have more time now to reach out to a worldwide community. Some of these speakers would do nothing online. Like some of the speakers at my event, circle it back to the Portal Ascension Summit. Some of the speakers on my summit were new speakers that wouldn't work with me before because they don't like doing online events. They just want to do live because they just like to
Right.
see people. So that's changed as well. And now that's great because now they've just been in front of thousands more people, many of them that would never have seen their information in the first place.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I just think, I mean, you talk about people saying different things or coming down on certain issues in ways that you didn't predict. But I think that's been sort of a shakeup process of the pandemic. The 6 feet apart, I feel is like the rubber band stretching. And when we come back together, I think it's going to be a lot more community, a lot more sharing of this type of information.
Yeah.
People went into their bunkers a little bit and, during this process and getting a lot of information. And it's a new normal. It's already a new world. We're already doing things differently. Yes, there may still be masks for a while, but don't you feel the hope of it all?
Yeah. And I do also feel that there's enough awake people, even if you're not awake to UFOs and all stuff, just awake to the corruption at least, right?
Right.
That we can allow the system to be the same as it was before, that allowed us to get to a point where we had this amount of incompetency, like basically got to a point where we couldn't take care of our own people, right? So I feel that COVID definitely has exposed flaws in the system, the worldwide system, the economy. It
Right.
just this one thing that could happen at any moment, at any time, completely floored the world economy. A random occasion that could happen at
Yeah.
any time, So
Right.
if that's the case, there's enough awake people to corruption in the world to be like, hey, you need to freaking do something, and we need to change the structure of government in order for us to be able to support the world and ourselves if something like this happens, and to make sure that, let's just say that people are dying, right? And to make it that we have things in place in order to lessen that blow, you know?
Yeah, and every time we see a homeless person on the sidewalk and we want to do something and we don't, I mean, I think that can be indicative also of, yeah, what are we doing as a society, whether it's sex trafficking, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
racism, corruption, our water supply, all that stuff. Yeah, I think there's more hands on deck. We're not allowing as much of that to happen. We're
Yeah.
checking that, and I think there's more, obviously, a lot more we can do, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the challenge. That's as long as it comes from inspired action from us. Um, if enough of us are fulfilling our purpose, I think a lot of that's going to get handled, and just
Yeah.
not enough people are fulfilling their purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll see how everything looks like when the dust settles. But it's really interesting to not have any date on when the dust may settle. I think that's what's driving most people a little crazy, is no realization of when. Like if you said, okay, hey, this is the date and we're gonna stick to it, yes. But that's already happened so many times, and we have to keep pushing the dates back because of what's happening, right? That people can't look forward to things, they can't plan for their future. So it's
Our,
creating this aura of this where people can either freak out or they can take some time to reflect on why that is happening to them.
exactly, because our ego self is frustrated with that sort of thing. We want black and white, finished, a closure before we begin again.
Mm-hmm.
But the God's eye view, I think, I see, you can see the perfection of it.
Yes, definitely. I do feel like a lot of the things that were corrupt in our system has been exposed. Now all we can really do is start healing it, and I'm really hopeful. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know if there's going to be a little more chaos before it, but I do
Right.
feel that this is definitely a stepping stone into the right direction. It's unfortunate that people have passed from this entire thing, but it definitely showed that we're not capable of supporting the human race on this planet properly, right?
Right.
So maybe we can start doing that.
And what do you see? What is your vision for a world of unity consciousness? What does that look like?
Yeah. Well, it'll definitely be one of the components will definitely be education and restructuring school systems entirely.
Mm.
Not only the type of compensation and how teachers are treated and the resources they have in order to stay positive and happy and deal with their own traumas so that they don't put it out on kids. But then also putting in all of this information that we know in a way that children can to understand when it comes to the way the universe is created, explorations of our ancient history, where we came from, how our vibratory being works and how we can use our own energy and send our intentions, and then the science behind that whole thing. That's just one component of it, right? There's so much more. So restructuring the school system entirely so that when the children are born up until now, they're indoctrinated in a way that creates them to be these beautiful beings of light that are so empowered that they want to assist and be compassionate and not be so egotistical because of maybe their dad wasn't there when they grew up and they didn't have an outlet in order to heal that trauma growing up as a child.
Well, and
Right?
haven't we been helped in that regard with a lot of the children being born now that already have a clue?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of them do, and some of them do, but then they're also born to families that kind of inhibit that still, you know? So my unity consciousness world would be like, restructuring that system entirely.
Mhm.
And there would be so many things that would basically have to be reformed, the way we operate as society. I love the idea of gross national happiness rather than gross national
Absolutely.
domestic, really measuring the society based on their happiness and joy. And a statistic for you is before COVID, 34% of the US were, the survey from, I think Duke University was saying that, no, from Yale was saying that 34% of the people in the US claim to be actually happy. After COVID, a few months after, 14%. First of all, 34% is very low,
Yes.
right? And then 14% is extremely low. We live in a depressed society. So dealing with depression, helping people get through this stuff, maybe doing clinical therapy with plant medicines for those who are eligible for it, because maybe sometimes mental disorders or other things might not make it that it's good for you to take it. You might have an allergic reaction. Not just throwing everybody into these different solutions, but figuring it out. Having rehabilitation and restructuring the prison system, not allowing private prisons, making it so that we can restructure the way we treat these prisoners rather than putting them away. Make sure our police officers and especially prison guards have hardcore therapy and hardcore vetted out so that they're not these people that abuse the crap out of people that are in prison, like, oh my God, and
Yeah.
watch them get beat and things like that. Fed disgusting things and then thrown back into the world again in order to be a part of society. And then when they violate again, you're like, oh my God, you're such a bad person. But what have you just done? You just traumatized this person even more, treated them like they're not human. Therefore, they're
Exactly.
going to be less human, right?
Yes.
It's just so delusional the way we operate. So my way of a unity conscious world is to be logical about it all, right? Like, just not treat people like the other and realize that we have all had experiences and some of us have had traumas that have led us to become certain people. And we have always had, and we can implement the tools and techniques in order to allow for those to be fully expressed and realized so that we can live in a more harmonious world.
Beautifully said. So it's all about healing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Healing and living an empowered life, finding your purpose. Because I have a feeling if people checked in with their authentic self, found out the reason they were here, if they haven't already, a lot of these things we're talking about would be handled,
Yeah.
because purpose usually is heart. I would think it's probably always heart driven.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because all the things you just described were
Mhm.
coming from a heart-centered place, treating people like they're our own family. They're someone's family. And then
Yeah.
if you see us as one, if you believe in oneness, then they are your family. They are you, in fact.
Yeah, exactly. And just the fact that we have, even if you like, that's definitely the component, and that's the transcended energy of realizing that we are all connected in one. And then even a lesser level down than that is the fact that the similarities we have as just the fact that we exist on this earth together, right? And it's, to me, like, I love saying to people that we have more in common with ourselves than those who claim to rule us and control us. We have more in common with each other. So that fact and reality right there, even though your neighbor might have a different ideology than you still have more common than him, than the people that you're following the ideology of.
Mm.
And if we can just have that realization and understanding, maybe we can start connecting around that rather than seeing our differences in each other.
I see a lot of that happening gradually, and I think some shifts happen somewhat with impact, but it's sort of a gradual slide away, say, from certain organized religion,
Yeah.
if that's what you want to do, and I did, to experiencing myself spirituality, which to me is non-denominational, not a belief system, just being in touch with myself, but knowing that I am an individuated part of God. I am God, and I'm the ocean in the raindrop.
Mm-hmm.
And when I interact with other people in the same way, unity consciousness, we're there. Mm-hmm. It's love.
Yeah. Humans have a tendency to wait till the last minute for a lot of things. And when it gets too bad, make a change. You know, you don't really try to work on, a lot of people don't try to work on their weight until all of a sudden they're getting bigger, right? So that's almost like what humanity is doing with our experience on this earth. I feel that we are literally taking ourselves, and this isn't like a judgment on humanity. This is how it was probably supposed to be. We were supposed to take ourselves to the brink of like, we can't even go any further to this darkness and this duality in order for us to come back and transcend and understand the light. We basically are not picking up the pieces until we take ourselves to the brink of destruction, you know? And now we're realizing that we are doing that. And so it gets to a point, and still we have still certain comforts, and the sky is still blue in some places enough for us to not collectively do something on the planet. But we are eventually getting to that place, and part of that is, like, let's say the division. Many people have lost family and friends over politics lately. Like, relationships have broken up over this stuff, you know, and now it's getting so divided that the only way we can come back is back to the unity, you know. So I feel like we're at the utmost epitome of the division, that something's going to happen soon, some light's going to be shed on something, and we're going to be coming back to unity, and that's my hope.
I believe it. I believe it's going to happen. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a big flash of light or anything as dramatic as that, but it's almost like in all things, though, hasn't this pandemic, as far as if you know, the intelligence out there that wants to help alter our course, that 7.8 billion people came here to be born at this time to experience. The pandemic's probably been one of the gentlest things that could have happened to create anything like this. Yeah,
exactly. You mean to create an opportunity for people to have time to reflect and to do some inner work
and change, and that's something that affected the whole world. So we didn't have an asteroid coming towards us. We weren't invaded by aliens all across the world. It was something like this. And
the first time ever, the whole world focusing on the same thing.
Yes.
Like, and even if you say, oh no, that happened before, but it really didn't. But even if you say it did, the population was never this amount. So it's really unprecedented anyway, you know? And so just what kind of energy are we creating all focusing on that? Is there something going on in the ethers where we're even making it even bigger because of that energy, you know? So those are my questions. But it's amazing that we're all focusing on the fact also that things have slowed down, right? Like almost in every single country, things aren't the same anymore. There's not as much stimuli anymore.
Not as much. That's right. That's right. Not as much stimuli. And you mentioned that because you talked about that being a distraction from what's really important.
Yeah, exactly. And I used to think that we needed some basic needs met in order for our to have the opportunity to look within and make some real change, right?
Right.
And there's a little bit of a noise outside. Can you hear it? Should I close the?
Oh no, I'm fine. We're fine.
Okay, cool. So I used to think that people would need something in order to have the basic needs met, and I thought that UBI, Universal Basic Income, might be the solution to that. Right. And because ultimately, you know, it's not free money. The government makes a lot of money on the fact that we exist. Wall Street and all those people, just the fact that we exist, we're traded on the stock market, our social security number, you know. So having something back for the amount of time and energy that we put back into the system in order to keep this going, I thought was the solution for people to have more times to focus on relationship and to focus on
self-care.
Yeah, exactly, on themselves. So I didn't know when that was going to happen, but that was my belief. I knew that even the conscious community is split with UBI, so I really never expressed it too much. And then what happened instead was COVID. COVID did the exact same thing a UBI would have done, but
Yes.
it's a different thing. It stopped everything world, and it didn't just do it for one country; it did it for the whole world.
Yes.
So I was like, whoa, that's really interesting. This is the time where we're having that reflection, and we are literally like, there's been prophecies about, you know, the collective dark night of the soul, the 3 days of darkness, where everybody's having a dark night of the soul. It didn't happen maybe as metaphoric as it was explained in those prophecies,
Yeah.
but I think this is what is going on right now. We all are having that dark night of the soul, and some people are staying within it and not being able to transcend out of it. But I feel
Exactly.
many people are actually learning the lessons from it.
Yeah, you're going through, if you want to say you're going through the hero's journey, and you go through the dark night of the soul, and you see people that are camped out there for a while, but you just keep passing them by.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this. This sort of, I don't know if you want to call this advanced. Some people believe that we don't have to do the hero's journey anymore, that we can just step into what we want to step into. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I actually feel every reality is possible, and there are many cycles within cycles occurring now. And some people are stuck in the karmic cycle, and other people walking you right by might not be. You
Right.
know, I don't know how the dynamics manifested it. Maybe the Urantia book might talk about it because it has like the science behind it all. But Dolores Cannon said that basically in World War II, when the atomic bomb was dropped, there was a call out to the universe. Before World War II, many bloodlines, many ET races would incarnate in specific bloodlines to have that experience. For example, the Hebrew bloodline was predominantly races from Arcturus. And then after World War II, there was a call out to the universe, and the bloodline ET race thing was law was eliminated. Now there was such a need for people, and that's why the population skyrocketed after that too. A lot of these beings were coming in, where now you could come, any soul could incarnate into any body, right? And can you circle back to your question really quick, because I went off on a tangent to give supporting information, but I forgot.
Well, yeah, just a hero's journey, going through all the
Okay,
steps that's necessary. We can just sort of take one step if we believe it.
Yes. So I feel it could be at that moment, or that could be a part of it as well, where the cycle of Earth had basically shifted in order to accommodate a whole range and a whole spectrum of souls.
Right, because because the energy has shifted, right? There's now things available that weren't available before 2012 even.
Right. And then for some people, there is like, this is how it was explained to me a long time ago. Let's say Earth 100,000 years ago. Here's a black hole, right? Here's the event horizon, Earth. Experience. There's a person on Earth, experience. And then it gets closer and closer to the center of the black hole, experience. Lesson. And one thing that took you a lifetime to learn, you're experiencing every other week now in this life, in order to transcend, because we're getting to the singularity, which is the center of the black hole, which is the entrance to the next dimension. You know,
I believe it. Things are faster now.
Right. And some people are not a part of that cycle at all, and they're just coming in as agents in order to assist people, but they were never part of it, but they're just plants here doing the job as ETs, angels, whatever, right? And then there are those that are in the cycle.
Talk show hosts. Yeah.
Right. So we have all these actual guides that are actual people that are our friends and family, that don't have to just be etheric, that maybe aren't even a part of the karmic cycle that we're a part of. So I feel that there are many possible realities, and another thing would be that there's a possibility that many timelines have converged into this one, which is why there's so many people on the planet, because many different souls from different timelines have come here to experience this, which is why there are many different timelines for this Earth, where different things were happening almost at the exact same time on the planet. It's because we all have different paths that we came from, because there are infinite Earths.
So it's exciting to be alive right now.
I definitely know it's exciting to be alive, and especially because a lot of the shift has hit the fan stuff is going on, where it's like, whoa, something's going to come from this. Like a lot of people have been saying something big is going to happen for a while. Something big has happened, and something bigger is about to happen, because everything's on pause right now, and it seems like things need to be reset. We're in the US. We're just one government out of so many. I've been doing research on other governments. Oh my God, complete collapses occurring.
Sure.
What is going to happen? you know?
When you say something bigger is going to come, I mean, and when I hear that, I check myself, because there's that part of us that still has, I don't know, the hero story, fairy tale or whatever, that
Yeah.
Jesus is going to come back, or some, Michael's going to come. But actually, it's the Christ within us that's coming back, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's the whole story of the revelations when Jesus was coming back. It was always a metaphor about the soul within, which is why Jesus
Mm,
said the kingdom of heaven is within. It was a literal representation of the fact that you are that. And Jesus was teaching people how to be like him, not to follow him, right? So the whole Christ consciousness thing, the whole thing about Jesus coming back in the book of Revelations is a metaphor for your own Christ consciousness coming back. And an example of that is if you go back even further into ancient texts that the story of Jesus came from, where you go to the text of Krishna, which is an older text in the Hindu saga, where Krishna was born to a virgin mother.
yep,
His dad was a carpenter. He was known as a savior to his people, and every other Jesus thing checks off. He's
right.
Jesus in India, and then you go to Christo from ancient Greece, and then it's a little earlier. Actually, they're later than the Hindu text. The Hindu text predates that, but that talks about the exact same story as well. And there's multiple of those stories
Yep.
going on. And if you look at those older and older texts that you go to, you realize the original story was a Masonic presence within your own self, represented as an individual manifesting, you know. So you can track back the whole story of Jesus to a story that talks about a Messiah awakening from within you. So there was a progression from this internal world to this external world.
And it's just people, it's just human nature to then point to that person and say, oh, they're going to save us. We don't have to listen. We just worship, and that's enough.
Yeah, and we've personified a lot of these deities that were just reflections of ourselves. And the Hindu text is a great example of that. Many people think Hinduism is a paganistic religion, but it's not. It's just one religion, and all those are different reflections of that one source.
Well, someone once told me that Hinduism is not even a religion at all.
No,
It's just so many things compiled under one umbrella.
right? Hinduism was originally firstly called Sindhuism, but the Persian Empire couldn't pronounce the word S, so they changed it to Hindu,
Hmm.
right? And it was always known as Sindhu Dharma. Dharma means laws of the universe. So it was never, because most religions, they tell you how to live, but
Right.
Hindu texts most religions tell you what to do in life. Do this and do this, and it's transactions and stuff. But the original Hindu text was the Vedic information before the rites and ritual age, because they went down duality as well. But the original Vedic text was telling you how to just live a beautiful, peaceful life on Earth, how to be in harmony with the planet. So it was more of a philosophy than ever a religion. But when the British came and conquered India, that was when the externalization of Hinduism really took a hold, and a lot of people forgot the internal world of Hinduism. And now you see gods everywhere in India. Taxi cab drivers have it, but none of them are truly following the true religion because it's become blind faith.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your Facebook page was taken down, but the website is still there. Through all these changes, Portal to Ascension is going to be there with us, right?
Yeah. So we have Instagram. So if anybody wants to join us on Instagram, that's where we're going to be, sharing awesome memes and events and stuff. So you can go to portal_to_ascension, or just search Portal to Ascension and you'll find us there. And then the best thing to do really is to go to our website and sign up, because you get a username and password and you get access to all the footage that we have in our archives. So you can do that as well. But the best thing anyone can do is just Google or search engine, right? Search engine Portal to Ascension, and then add everything you find. Support us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Every single channel has something different and is a unique source of conscious content for you. And we keep it very dynamic. If you can give us your support, if you want to support us on Patreon, that way you can continuously support us, because we have, I have a 10-year, 20-year vision for Portal to Ascension, and events is just one component to what we're going to be creating in the future. And really, we need the support of the community in order to do that.
What do you want people to know about Portal to Ascension? What Portal to Ascension aims to be for people?
Well, I'd like to talk about one of the original points that we wanted to bring up here, which is conscious collaboration.
Mm,
I have just, I guess it's in my DNA, and I just love people and love working with people so much that I'm always reaching out to see how we can collaborate. Something that I find really cool that I've been doing over the last 10 years is I've met people that are doing big things or people I want to connect with, and I've just had a conversation with them every few months for a few years until we figured out how we can make it work. You know,
right.
a good example is Deborah Juicy from um, Transforming the New Paradigm, the biggest conscious promoter on the West Coast of US. And then Adrian from Disclosure Fest. It was
Brendan
like,
Culleton.
yeah, exactly. So it was just like, yeah, Brendan, I've known for like since 2008, I saw his first video, and I only started working with him last year. So I was like 12 years I knew about him. And so then that's what eventually happens. I have these conversations, and then eventually we figure out, okay, this is what we could do. You could host this event, and then we start merging together more and supporting each other. That is what is happening with a saying that I keep saying is the energy of inclusion is stronger than the energy of exclusion. So the way we're going to really make some change is when we come together and unite forces. We all have reaches. This guy's got 100,000 person email list. This person has 4 million people on their Instagram. We come together, we have a unified message, we do our research on what we're bringing out there so that it's vetted,
Yep.
and then we jointly can put this information out and create real change on earth. Unfortunately, the system has been created in a way where our direct market and our niche and what we have, we need to cultivate independently of others in order to make sure that we don't lose money and we can continue to sustain ourselves,
Yep.
right? But we know in this community that abundance is trusting that you will have what you need when you need it. So if you want to implement the concept of abundance, the whole idea of competition that we have within our society right now, I'm not going to throw out competition entirely because I don't
Sure.
know, that needs to have some more discussion, but
Mhm.
taking that out in the way that we have it now will make us come together and make some real change. And another great example is look at how much technology we have right now mainstream that we know won't be released for another 10 to 20 years because they're trying to milk every single product line. So by the time many people die, there's going to be technology that could be 30, 40, 50, even 100 years in the future just being shelved, waiting for every product to be milked because we've created a society that doesn't progress anymore. We have like inhibited ourselves. Even when you look at scientists, the original scientists were philosophers. They would philosophize about the
Good point.
universe and what they're going to create and how they're going to do it. And now science has this doctrine of if it doesn't fit what we have now dubbed as the status quo, then it does not fit within our system and we're going to ridicule it, and you better watch out because you could lose your career. And this goes for archaeology, this goes for
Yeah.
astronomy, many things, you know.
Because it's a consumption driven economy, and if anything threatens that, there's going to be some lashback.
Yeah, so these are the, these are the things in the system that I feel are also being exposed right now, so we're just like addressing them on one level. But as I said before, I'm hopeful we are actually going to start changing these, and that's why I do these events, just to inform people. My role in this whole thing is information, but it's also going to be is practical information that you can implement in your lives, as well as information about other things like ancient history, cool stories about our past and who we are, and then start putting the whatever we bring in, because I want to start generating enough income in order to be able to put into certain projects that implement these things that I'm discussing right now, which is why actually most of the proceeds that come into Portal to Ascension actually goes to the speakers. And the reason why it goes to the speakers are all these hundreds of people that we work with and more are actually the ones doing these things. They're trying to change legislation. They're creating
Exactly.
devices. They're doing scientific research. So by supporting Portal to Ascension, you're really supporting all these conscious speakers on different topics, from a person to travel to Egypt in order to go to archaeological dig in order to explore the anthropology behind a discovery there, to a person in San Diego in their garage trying to figure out how to create this free energy device, right? So
Yeah.
it's the beautiful thing that we've created, and I really feel that as we grow, we're going to have more impact.
I have a vision of society in the future where we all just have Patreon accounts, and people are just giving, whether it's 10, 15, 50, whatever, and for doing what we do.
Yeah.
And what we do following our mission is seen as having great value. Teachers will perhaps be paid more, or just, you know, other people will be paid less in line with things. But however it shakes out, however it looks, I just think that that would be a valuable thing. Everyone have a Patreon account, so that people who see the beauty of what you're doing and your purpose can just give, can contribute.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's happening with decentralization now. You know,
Yeah,
people can support people directly, and it's growing. Patreon's growing right now, especially because of COVID.
exactly. And when I asked you a few seconds ago, a few minutes ago, about what Portal to Ascension is to people, I have an answer that I'd like to give, and that is, um, I believe what you do at a certain level has been brave, has been courageous, and has been illuminating. The people you bring through, I mean, they come through other places, or they have their own portals and everything, but you have their respect
Yeah.
and more, because they like to work with you and come through Portal to Ascension. It's like you said, you do have a vetting process as well. I'd like to know what that is a little bit. Sometime we'll have that talk. That sounds like a fun interview in and of itself, because there's got to be so many levels to that. But the information, I mean, you have, you know, Billy Carson. I mean, all these people that trust you, they've attended your events, I know in LA, and they work with you because what you're doing is so important. You are a portal to helping us know our highest and best selves, and to do that in this biosuit, on this earth now. And I mean, I could say so much more, but for all that, thank you. And your wife's soul, I
Thank
know,
you.
has a lot to do with things as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we do this together, and then the live events is her big thing. She really manages the live events, the volunteers, and all that stuff. So it's pretty awesome that we basically do this full time together. We travel the world. We film documentaries at the
Mm-hmm.
places that we go. You know, and it's just creating content on every level. We really want to just provide all types of content, from documentaries to webinars, presentations, live events, tours, conferences, and we just keep expanding.
Well, your curiosity and hunger for this information is to the benefit of us all. So thank you, Neil Gaur, for doing this interview.
Thank you, brother.
All right. So go to portaltoascension.com, find Neil Gaur, spelled Gaur, on Patreon, patreon.com. I'm Scott Ware with Radiance Magazine. Thank you for watching.